इलेक्शन ऑडिओ घेतला घेतलाय त्याचा मला विचार
नाही नाही, तुला रेग्युलर आलेला असेल ना मिक्सचा, मग तो तिकडनं कॅमेरा स्विच कर ना.
स्क्रीन
आणि हा पिन करायचा आहे. राज कांबळे का काढून टाक. तुम्ही काढून टाक. एक सेकंड छोटा बदल.
आपल्याशिवाय मला त्याचा उत्तर नाही येणार.
पाटील इथं राहून इकडे तोंड करा, परंतु इथं उभं राहून त्यांना ऐकू द्या. हो नाही नाही, तुम्ही बोलायचं समोरच आहे. तो आवाज तुमच्या इकडे तिथं होणार आहे, त्यांना जात नाही. नाही नाही, हो नाही हो, तुम्हाला सांगतो ते करा मॅडम. फक्त तुम्ही इथं उभं राहून सरळ त्यांच्याशी बोला, तुमचा प्रॉब्लेम नाही येणार. तुम्हाला पण तेच सांगतोय, इथं उभं राहून बोला, प्रॉब्लेम येणार नाही, त्यांना ऐकू जाईल. हाच काय म्हणजे पीपीटी नसणार आहे, पीपीटी नाही ना याचा अर्थ. इधर कोई खड़ा भी नहीं है। मेरे दो कैमरे हैं, इधर से इधर का शॉट लेगा तो इधर भी कोई नहीं है, उधर से इधर लेके तो आप दोनों इनको उसका डर ऐसा है, इनको पता तो रहना चाहिए कि क्या हो रहा है इधर। वो डिस्टर्ब नहीं नहीं, आपको तो खुद मैं किनसे बात करने वाला हूँ, ऐसा उनको दुश्मन नहीं बना सकते। अच्छा आपको पता है अजून वेळ आहे? त्यांना कळवलं का की अजून वेळ आहे? वेळ आहे. मला बोललेत ना त्याच्याशी अरे आज काढलेले हो हो
Good morning. Good morning to everyone present here. Good morning to everyone present here and all those who are present in online mode. Yesterday, we have heard a lot about yoga and it has added to our knowledge about yoga. As we begin with the second day of this national conference on yoga, we begin with the Omkar Pratima Pujan. I would like to request respected Dr. Kanchi sir to do the Omkar Pratima Pujan by offering flowers. I would also like to request Nikam sir to please join. Thank you. Now I invite Suvarna Bhavkar madam to say the Omkar prayer followed by Shanti Mantra.
प्रार्थना समकाय शिरोग्रीव डोळे बंद ओंकारं बिंदु संयुक्तं नित्यं ध्यायन्ति योगिनः कामदं मोक्षदं चैव ओंकाराय नमो नमः शांति मंत्र ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शांति
Thank you, madam. Now we will have the keynote address by Dr. T.M. Shriniwasan sir. Sir has joined us in online mode. Good morning, sir. On behalf of Yeshwantrao Chavan Maharashtra Open University, I welcome you, sir, for the keynote address on the second day of this National Conference of Yoga, Yog Darshan 2024. Welcome, sir. Now, I would like to request Dr. Sangeeta Patil, madam, to introduce our keynote speaker, respected Dr. T.M. Srinivasan, sir, on this occasion. Good morning, all. It is a great privilege to introduce Dr. T.M. Srinivasan, a distinguished scholar and pioneer in the field of yoga, with special focus on bioenergy and its application in health and wellness. He is a doctorate in electrophysics with an academic background in both yoga and biophysics. Dr. Srinivasan has spent decades blending ancient yoga principles with modern scientific research. Working as a professor, researcher, director in various prestigious units, there is a huge list of career achievements. Just to quote a few, he was a professor in Bioengineering Department, IIT Madras, Director of Research, ARE Medical Clinic, United States, Associate Dean and Professor in Electronics, ITT Technology, again United States, Dean and Professor Vivekanand Yoga Anushandhan Samstha, S. Vyasa, Bangalore, President and Founder Member of International Society for Study in Subtle Energic and Energy Medicine, Executive Director of the Yoga Review, Director, Indian Institute of Yoga and Allied Sciences. He has hosted international conference on energy medicine at Madras. His work continues to influence global understanding of scientific basis of yoga. He has designed courses for bioengineering, electronic communications, rehabilitation and holistic health areas in India and United States. He has authored several influential books and research papers. To quote a few, Energy Medicine Around the World, Perception in Science and Shastras, author of Gita Sagara Saram and Yoga Sagara Saram, author of Lecture Notes on Mind-Body Medicine, The Science and Art of Yoga in Mental and Neurological Healthcare. Please join me in welcoming Dr. T.M. Srinivasan, a visionary leader in integrating yoga and science, whose profound insights continue to inspire practitioners and researchers worldwide. I request Sir to present his online keynote, and the topic is Physiology due to Yoga Research. Thank you.
Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you very much. I've not been doing anything last 5 years, so all this is, when you were reading, I thought you were reading about somebody else. Anyway, thanks for the introduction. I'm very happy to be here. My grateful thanks to Vice Chancellor, Dr. Nigam, who called me and wanted me to join this program. I spent a few hours yesterday with you guys. Very inspiring program has been set up by him. I'm also thankful to my friend, Dr. Sanjay Gavali, who is doing so much of social work in Nasik and have been in contact with me for several years, inviting me to Nasik. Didn't happen this time, maybe next time it will happen. And I'm also very thankful to Dr. Rashmi Ranade, who has contacted me all odd hours, so to say, to give some aspects about my talk. And there's a very brief outline of my talk in your brochure, which is brought out on this occasion. Anyway, I thought as follows. Now, physiology due to yoga research. Title of the talk is Physiology due to yoga research. By the way, if you cannot understand me, if I'm not clear, raise your hand so I can see you all from here, and you can tell what the problem is, especially in communication, since I'm sitting at my home and talking to you. Okay. Again, the title of the talk has been given as Physiology due to yoga. What does that mean? So normally what we do is we take a bunch of people, normal or abnormal in some ways, and teach them yoga and find out that blood pressure has come down, that sugar has come down, and this has happened, and that has happened, pain is reduced, etc. Now that is one way of trying to prove as it were, to say that yoga is doing some good things to human physiology and human psychology. What I want to talk about is a little reverse that process. So doing yoga research or looking at yoga and experience in yoga, that ultimately the reality is to experience what you're doing. Then certain areas of physiology and psychology opens up, which has not been addressed earlier by these sciences. What are those areas and how far we should go to understand the real impact of yoga? It is not simply body and mind, but a little deeper, but still various aspects of body and mind opens up as you're looking at yoga from inside out, so to say. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And as a long-time teacher, my concept is to confuse you as much as possible, so that you'll go back home with a lot of questions. Maybe you can write to me, email me your questions. Maybe you can resolve them yourself. But to have questions, that's what happened. For example, in my Gita book, I compiled what are the questions Arjuna asked really in all these 700 verses, and picked out all the questions he asked. And some people are amazed that depending on the questions, the answer comes out from Yogeshwara Krishna. Okay? So the questions are very important. So if you have any questions, we'll have. I think I have about 45 minutes or so, 50 minutes. I'll talk for about half an hour and then let you have some questions. And after all that, I want to take 2-3 minutes to have a request for all of you at the end of as a conclusion of my talk. Okay, so coming back. So what are the areas that are opening up in physiology because of yoga research? Because when you start looking at yoga, and I'll give you examples as we go along, certain new areas seems to emerge. Now, mostly we do not talk about Yama. I'm going to stick to Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, Ashtanga Yoga. Okay, and in the Ashtanga Yoga, most studios, yoga studios, and even universities do not talk too much about Yama and Niyama. I was thinking why we are not doing it. It is likely in India, these are all taken for granted. Now, for example, if you say Ishvara Pranidhana, we have a little puja room or puja material somewhere, we go and put our heads down, whatever it is we are thinking, and we come out of the room. So this is normal for most Indians going to a temple, etc. So we don't have to really push those ideas to Indian groups. But we're not dealing with Indian groups anymore. For your information, there are more Americans practicing yoga every day than the number of Indians, in spite of the fact our population is almost 4 times as much as theirs. Let me repeat, there are more Americans practicing yoga every day than Indians in India. And that is a big thing because, it has really opened up the ideas and the requirement, not only for just for health, but also asking ourselves, like, yesterday somebody was talking about Purushartha. Even that level, people are trying to inquire. And yoga seems to provide certain undeniable advantages. Okay, so we need to introduce Yama Niyama. One of my last students at Vyasa, Bangalore, from China, she did some good work in Yama Niyama to find out how their rajasic tendencies goes down after practicing yoga and focusing on Yama Niyama. So I'm not going to deal with that. Anyway, starting from asana. Now, asana is very interesting. I'll take one by one, asana, pranayama, etc., one at a time, and tell you what are new physiological emerging areas within that area of asana practice. Now, asana, as you know, is simply taking some positions, say Mayurasana. I keep telling, Mayurasana, I spent 2 years in Rajasthan working somewhere in Pilani, and I have never seen one Mayura taking a human asana. I don't know why we are taking Mayurasana. But anyway, we are doing it. When we do that, two things we are really focusing on. One is it is a weight bearing. Our own weight is being carried by certain muscles. Don't worry about which muscles. That's a different level of classroom teaching. So there is weight bearing of the muscles. So muscles are active in the way they are designed. And more importantly, we are also stretching the muscles. Muscle stretch. Like for example, we stretch. We do it. We are stretching the muscle. And stretch is not normal for muscles. Muscles have tendons. The end tendons connect the muscle to the bone. And the tendon, if you dissect the tendon and look at it, it will look pale, white, because there is no blood supply, not enough blood supply to the tendon. And in the tendon tears, in the process of doing a asana, you want to do it perfectly. If the tendon tears, the repair becomes extremely difficult. Okay? So you have to be careful. That's why I keep telling whoever come across, if you want to be yoga therapist, you must know good physiology and anatomy. There's a no-go, nothing else. You cannot shortcut that. So my plea is to Dr. Nigam, if you're introducing this as a yoga therapy class, I'm sure there are, you have to make them go through anatomy and physiology, understand what happens at what level, and how to prevent certain injuries, how to facilitate some rehabilitation procedures. And so the muscle does two function when you're doing yoga asanas. One is weight bearing, other one is stretch. As I said, stretch need to be very carefully done. And because nature doesn't want anything to happen to itself, so there's a lot of protective mechanisms in the muscle and the tendon to give feedback. If you do stretch a lot, it wants to come back to normal. It doesn't want to stretch because it is afraid of tear. It wants to come back to normal length, try to shorten a little bit, and feedback mechanisms will entail this to do. It will be feedbacks going to the spinal cord as well as to the brain, letting the muscle come back to normal shape. Okay, so now However, the advantage of stress is very important. This is what opened up certain areas of work. We also looked at it in IIT Madras while I was there, looking at it, some feedback mechanism. For example, for those who know, there's something called H reflex, the reflex mechanism, which comes into play to maintain integrity of the muscle and the tendon. So this was one thing which came out. And ultimately, studying all this, we came to the fact that the two ultimate messages that come out of this. One is when you stretch a muscle in the tendon, then because the feedback mechanism, the control of the muscle improves. When you do yogasanas, the control of the muscle improves. That is what is important. Secondly, because it is carrying weight, its own weight or weight of the body, there is also blood flow coming into like in an exercise, though not as extensively. That's why if you look at yoga practitioners like myself, let me take my example. I don't have a six-pack abdomen, and I don't want one because that is not the aim of yoga. It is to make sure that you have enough strength to carry you around, and there is enough flexibility and enough control for the muscle. So, by the way, I'm 86-year-old. Yoga practice has given me all these years, and I don't have problems with muscular degeneration. Anyway, so we had so ultimately yogasanas provided a forum to look through this, and we came upon several other factors. Like, for example, you can do asanas in a dynamic way, very quickly. You are moving, you are extending the muscles quickly and coming back to normal shape for the muscle. You can do it very slowly. You can also maintain the position for a while. That's what we do in an yoga. If you do a sarvangasana or something, you maintain it for a while. All these three aspects, that is fast movement and back to normal, slow movement and back to normal, slow movement and maintain the position and coming back to normal. So these are all various areas which opened up to say that rehabilitation of the neuromuscular system is possible with these three possibilities. Persons can have Parkinson's tremor, a rigidity in the muscle. It is rigid, not able to move the muscle, a lot of pain for the patient. That's because of a stroke or so. So these are well taken care of by these three options we have. You have to choose which one it is, and you can find out when you're a therapist, you'll find out what to do for these patients. So as far as asana is concerned, these areas have been new. The rehabilitation people knew about it, but still it is somewhat new to put it in and make sure that both strength and control is achieved through yogasanas. Okay. Secondly, the sequence is very important. That's what my great acharya and my acharya's acharya, Sri Krishnamacharya, whom we should all remember with great reverence. I'll talk about him in a minute. He insisted there should be a sequence so that once you have, for example, in simple terms, when you have a forward bending, you follow it up by backward bending. So that the muscles which are contracted in the first case will be relaxed in the second case. And this relaxation and contraction of that set of muscles will again provide strength and stamina and control. Okay. Just a little bit of history about yoga itself in India, South India especially. So in South India, about 100 years ago, probably very few people knew about yoga. I'm talking about 1900s, 1850s. And Sri Krishnamacharya was born in Mysore, went to Tibet when he was 25-year-old, and learned from a Tibetan master yoga for normal people who are working and householders. He came back with ideas about how to implement it. And he started teaching his own children and other children, especially the royal children in Mysore Palace. And then he shifted for reasons known to him, shifted to Chennai, and he was having a group of people working with him, learning yoga from him. And his son, Desigachari, started his Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, which I was involved from the beginning. Unfortunately, Desigachari also passed away about 5-6 years ago. But the name of Krishnamacharya will be etched in the history of yoga of South India because he kept that yoga flame burning and partaking. And he was his prime student, we all know, is BKS Iyengar, who took this to world, all over the world. Okay, so my pranams to his great teaching. Okay, now that is one. Any questions so far? If you have any questions, put your hand out or write something, give it to somebody, or simply shout so I can hear, or whatever. Okay. Now, if you don't have any question, okay. Let's also, the yoga asanas can be used for certain specific purposes. Like where at my age, I should be careful about two things in my body. One is sitting on top. The other one is sitting in the center. Both I should take care of. Okay. And I tell you the methods to do if you have, I'm sure you have older people. Anybody past 60 must attend, and even younger people should do this. Now, very important for me. I do this every day. I can't do all exercises because I broke my hand. I can't lift it up too much. Right hand doesn't go up. So, but I can lie down and sit down and do asanas, which anyone can do. If people at home are not standing up and doing, don't worry about it because old people have very poor balance. They can sit and do these asanas. And I do Pavana Muktasana. That's one important aspect in my asana practice. Why? Now, what it does is the following. We have measured this after looking through what seems to be some advantages to this Pavana Muktasana for older people especially. Now, the heart attack comes because lack of blood flow to the heart muscles. Heart muscles do not get enough blood flow, oxygenated blood. So you have to push some blood in. And when a heart attack patient comes to a clinic, what they do is the following. They'll put on a machine which increases pressures of the lower limbs of the leg and down below. They put a pressure suit as it were, and the same kind of pressure suit that a fighter pilot uses when he is going out and he dives deeply. They do a deep dive to bomb or whatever. There is a rush of blood to the extremities, and you'll go out in brown out and black out. In other words, you lose consciousness instantly for a short while till he stabilizes. So it's not easy. You don't want to lose the pilot nor the plane. So they have a pressure suit, similar pressure suit to apply pressures to both the big arteries descending from aorta, going down both sides of the leg. And that will cut out the blood supply to the leg for a short time, doesn't matter. If it cuts out for 2 minutes, nothing will happen. But I don't want too much of blood or too less blood to my brain and to my heart. And when you do a Pavana Muktasana and hold on to your knees and push it down to your stomach and your chest, then what you're doing is you're trying to do the same thing more or less in a very mild fashion. You're pushing blood through the arteries to the heart itself. Now, it's a very interesting phenomena. I'm not going to talk about it. You should find out when do cardiac arteries get their blood supply. That's your question. You find out and think about it. Ask your teachers otherwise. And anyway, the Pavana is very good in augmenting blood supply to the heart, so the heart can be normal, and healthy. Number one. Number two, well, okay. Next is spinal cord. Well, Asana, spinal cord is extremely important. If you have looked at Sri Krishnamacharya when he was 100 years old, he had his spinal cord straight. Now, there's wonderful work which came much later by Dr. Irvin Kaur, K-O-R-R. Students kindly note, you can find out what he has contributed to physiological research, spinal cord dynamics. So as long as spinal cord is straight and viable, there are also nutrients going down through the spinal cord, not only simply the neurons going through from the head to various parts of the body. Every part of the body from the head going down will go through the spinal cord, and it has branches all over. All over, there are branches going out from the spinal cord. And more importantly, that nutrients also go and they take care of requirements of micronutrients in various parts of the body. That's what he looked at. Dr. Irvin Kaur looked at it. And that's what you also find when your spinal cord is straight and it is functional and properly maintained through mild exercises like twisting asanas, etc. Then, when the integrity is good, then health promotion is very simple. You have good health, not only of the spinal cord, but the rest of the body. Okay. Let's move on to pranayama. Now, again, very interesting aspects come out here. Now, I've asked my students, if you have two eyes, right? You're seeing with both eyes. What is the advantage of having two eyes and not one? I could have had only one eye. I don't have to, I can go to an eye doctor only once, not twice. Why have two eyes? We have two eyes because, we know that it is depth vision. 3D, we can easily see the first row is sitting first, there is people in the second row and the third row and fourth. Okay, that's what I'm looking. So a depth vision is because I have two eyes. Why 2 years? 2 years because then I can locate where the origin of sound is. Very important when I'm out there in nature, walking around, I know where the sound comes from in the three-dimensional space. Okay. Now the third question is very difficult to answer questions by a medical professional. Why do I have two nostrils? Somebody said if one is, stuck, I can breathe the other one. That's a good answer. You know why? I wish I had three nostrils because both of them are stuck. What do I do? I should have three nostrils or maybe four, maybe a little bit more. So then there's not the right answer. So the right answer came through yoga research only. And this is called Swara Yoga. Many of you know about it. But let me elaborate a little bit more on the research side of it after we knew. And this was the most of the research in this area was done by a good friend of ours by name Dr. David Shanahan Khalsa. Dr. David, what I want is you note down the name. You can always go back and look at what he has done, how many papers, books he has published. Dr. David Shanahan Khalsa. David Shanahan means he was a Jew to start with, Jewish guy. And Khalsa means he became a Khalsa. He is a Sardarji, white Sardarji, and totally dedicated to yoga and Kundalini yoga, what they practice. And Sri Yogi Bhajan from Punjab went to USA, and he has a large number of followers. Unfortunately, he himself passed away about 10, 15 years ago. But David Shanahan Khalsa has done tremendous amount of work on this Swara Yoga and its effect on the body. So when he was told about this, he went to the clinics and started working, and he found out we have two nostrils. Only one will be active at any one time. And there's a switch between the predominant nostril breathing to the opposite side every about 90 to 130 or 180 minutes. It is 1.5 hours to about 3 hours. Within 2 hours or so, it will switch from one side to another. Very simple. You just close your mouth and put your hand under the nostril. To do that, you see that one nostril is more dominant in it. There are tissues inside that they can get blood, and the blood tissues inside each nostril. And when the blood comes in one side, they block that nostril, and the other one is free to breathe. It goes on right and left. So 1.5 hours, it will switch from one to another. And what is this? Why is this? There's a rhythm. So this is called ultradian rhythm. Body is full of all kinds of rhythms going on. Some of them are the starting points. They start other rhythms to start. And this happens, for example, when the right nostril is active, the left hemisphere, opposite hemisphere, contralateral hemisphere, is electrically more active. Let me repeat. In the right nostril, one nostril is active, breathing. The opposite hemisphere is electrically active. Now, this would imply, I tell jokingly my students, for example, when you take an exam, you want your left brain to be active, the logical brain to be active, which means the right nostril must be open. So wait for some time. Tell the teacher, I'm waiting, and I don't want a question paper now. I hope Vice Chancellor is not listening to this. I'm joking. Anyway, so please wait. When my right nostril starts breathing, I'll take the question paper. You take 3 hours from there, okay? Fine. Why not? Do it. If that is possible. Why you should have everybody starts at 9 o'clock and it ends at 12 o'clock? Because I have to. It is set so not necessary. Because everybody is different. Everybody must have a chance to do same chance, same choice. Okay. Anyway, so that's not going to happen. And so the contralateral hemisphere is more active, which means tasks that are easy to do with that hemisphere must be done during that time, preferably. As I said, in a work place, there's not a whole lot of choice. But if logical decisions need to be taken, then your left hemisphere must be more active, helping you in that decision making. And if you are a musician, you want to sing, you want to do other things, the creative, you want to paint a picture, then your right hemisphere is usually more dominant. And that is the time you have to do this creative work. Anyway, so these aspects of creativity and the ultradian rhythm was really sorted out because we knew about the ancient text talks about Swara Yoga, how the changes in breathing patterns come about, and that is a new area opened up to this yoga research. And my good friend, thanks to him, David Chana Khalsa. So that is one. So we have pranayama. If you do a Nadi Sodhana pranayama, probably we are trying to equilibrate both of them. It is said both nostrils must be equally closed or equally open so that the central nadis become more active. You know what that means. I don't want to elaborate. Okay. Another important aspect that we came across is the following. There's one fantastic work from University of Edinburgh talking about what happens. They were interested in sports medicine. There was not a single word on yoga in the paper. Talk about what happens if you hold the breath for 30 seconds. Actually, they had 15 seconds. I'm saying 30 to be on the safer side. So, like for example, you're breathing and you hold your breath, antarkumbhaka, for 30 seconds. What will happen? Now, some fantastic things happen, and this is absolutely required for all people, especially older people, to do every day, maybe 3 times a day. You can do that, sitting in your chair or whatever. And this is what happens. When you hold the breath, there is no oxygen exchange the blood is still getting carbon dioxide from the cells. The cells are breathing. So there's carbon dioxide released by the cells, numerous cells in the body. Every cell in the body releases carbon dioxide. But they don't have oxygen now because you start breathing. So the carbon dioxide level starts increasing in the blood. The same blood goes through the two sinuses in the neck, goes inside the brain. Now the carbon dioxide increases there. Now see, again, doing pranayama is against nature. Nature is not built, the brain is not built for a lot of carbon dioxide. So because it is under stress now, it'll react rather violently, let me put it, the brain. What it does is, now I'm not getting oxygen, I'm getting carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide level is going up. The pH of blood is going down. It's becoming more acidic. So I got to be careful. This is not going to help me, the brain says, and opens up the arteries. It'll open up the arteries in the brain, ever so little bit. So more blood rushes in. Even though there's less oxygen, it is still getting some oxygen. Okay. Now, once that is done, when you start breathing after 30 seconds, then there is a sudden rush of this blood and a lot of oxygen goes in. And now the opened arteries comes back to the normal size, and the brain is okay because now it is getting oxygen. Gentlemen, friends, this is the only way of putting more oxygen into your brain. Let me repeat, let me say it for the third time. It is the only non-pharmacological way of putting more blood and more oxygen into your brain. Who would not like to have? So, you can call here. So this is very, very important. So under Kumbhaka for 30 seconds now, you got to be careful. Again, you see, if you are a yoga therapist, you don't suddenly rush and tell people do this. It's good for you, no. Because you have to find out, does he have a cardiac problem? Is there any other problem? Can he hold for 10 seconds? Can he hold for 15 seconds? Slowly build it up. And 20 seconds is enough. But to be on the safer side, holding it for 30 seconds, which is normal people can do very easily, is to hold it for 30 seconds and then release and come back and do it 3 times in one sitting, maybe 3 times every day. So this is an extremely powerful method for people to get fresh, as it were, oxygenated blood in the brain. Now we have measured this. We have very sophisticated equipment at Vyasa, Bangalore. We have measured how much oxygen goes inside the brain. And another aspect is, which I think is happening, is because the arteries open and close, adhesion, anything that is inside the artery gets stuck. They say cholesterol does it. There's a lot of controversy about it. But anyway, anything that gets stuck inside the artery will be flushed out as soon as this happens. So when you have an artery which is increasing in size and decreasing, it will try to flush out what is not artery itself from its inside. So there are 2 advantages of this. The main being that more oxygen supply goes to brain, and hopefully cognitive functions. We know that, for example, cognitive functions improve on doing pranayama and asanas, which I'll take a minute off and tell you something else. Running International Journal of Yoga for about 10 years. I have very clear ideas about it. You can do all the best research in yoga if you want. But if you want to publish while I was there, you have to have a model. Now, you can't say that, yoga asanas will improve your blood sugar. Okay. What is the mechanism through which this happens? Does it go to pancreas? Does pancreas improves? improvement is the sugar is taken care of, there must be some mechanism you should give. Otherwise, the paper will not be published under my instructions. So this is very important. That's why whenever you start yoga research or any research for that matter, it doesn't matter yoga. It's one. You have to have a model. Okay, maybe because of this, that's going to happen. The model might change because once you start working, new details come in, and that'll give you new light and new ideas, and that will open up the model. It will change the model. If you look at science, for example, science is so good because it is able to quickly adjust its models without feeling bad about it. For example, how did the model of an atom, if you look at it, they didn't have any idea 2000 years ago. The Greek didn't know about it. They mentioned something which is not true. And then 200 years ago, things changed, and then quantum mechanics came. Things have changed, and the whole thing is completely different from when they started. So similarly, it doesn't matter what model you have. You must have a model which is reasonable. And I've written about it even as late as a couple of months ago. Somebody wanted some papers where I wrote about it. This is extremely important. Don't do research without a model. It is a waste of time because if I am there, I'm not there. Good news is I'm not there now. I will not publish your paper. So very simple. And that is the standard. You have to think of, why I'm doing this research. Like you're saying, you are talking about Kaivalya. This is nothing. This is a simple model, setting up a model. Okay, it might be Panchakosha model. Panchakosha model, whatever is reasonable to measure, must also be available for us to do so. Okay. The next idea is I talked about Brahmari Pranayama. We found some very unusual outcomes. One of my students, PhD, she did work with, by the way, she was a retired bank official. I'm just telling because, she was so dedicated. She wanted to work in Brahmani Pranayama. So fortunately for us, NIMHANS, National Institute of Mental Health, is nearby. And she worked there. And we have not made measurements, but there's enough evidence to show there is a increased production of nitric oxide during Brahmani Pranayama. And we looked at literature, and sure enough, this is possible if you do cranial, even humming, like that, there is increased in nitric oxide, which has a whole lot of positive impact in the body, including immunity boosting, and then non-clumping of blood particles, and half a dozen other very positive biological changes that come about because of nitric oxide. It is normally generated in the two sinuses here, and you can increase that through Brahmani Pranayama. That was really an eye-opener for us because then it becomes so powerful that doing simply Brahmari, that you don't, hopefully, all the smaller ailments can be taken care of. Okay? So that's another important observation we made. Okay, then let's move on to what is the contribution of studying meditation and dhyana. Kindly look at some of my writings. It's very provocative. I have the heading of one of my editorial in iJoy. iJoy is from meditation to dhyana. From meditation to dhyana. Means what? Which means, very simple term, dhyana is different from meditation. Dhyana is not what most of meditation is being done today around the world. Most of the meditation today is derived from Buddhist meditation techniques, which are very powerful for the body and the mind. But they are not Vedic in its nature, because we are talking about different kind of reality from others. Like we are talking about Kaivalyam and Atman, Brahman, they do not accept those things, and so their end goal is different. So their method is little different. So anyway, I'll tell you just the gist of it. In one word, the difference is in meditation, it is regarding your feelings, your mental attitude, your mind, and trying to let go of the mind, etc. Whereas in dhyana, you must have image, an idea about ultimate principle or God. Absolutely required. This is Vedic meditation where the picture, the icon, the idea of a God is maintained. It may be self, Atman. So that is very important in Vedic tradition. It is not so in other traditions, but they also have a clinical relevance. That's why they are so popular. Anyway, so now there was one white man, I don't remember, an American, I don't remember his name, unfortunately. He went to, I believe, if I remember correctly, to Tiruvannamalai. Do you know Tiruvannamalai? Where Ramana Maharshi was there for a long time. His remains are buried there. And he was meditating, this American was meditating, this happened about 20 years ago, deeply, and he thought he attained a state of bliss, Satchit Ananda. So he thought he went into Ananda state, was very happy, he was doing it over and over again. Went back home with the thought that if I am in this state of Ananda, there must be a molecule related to this secreted by the brain. Let me check. So he went, and when he was in Ananda state, they took out his blood and people like that, and found and looking for, is there any new molecule expression that is seen in the blood? And sure enough, it was the case. And there was a particular molecule that they have not observed otherwise that seems to be available in the blood, secreted somewhere in the body, brain possibly, that has different characteristics. And he called it Anandamide. Anandamide, he called it. And if you look at my book, the actual the molecule configuration has also been determined by them and given in their papers. And what I found out on top of it is this Ananda mind has an ability to control breast cancer cells. So proliferation of breast cancer cells was completely stopped when people are stimulating Ananda mind, which is got by complete Ananda. So this Ananda mind was a eye opener, as it were, that comes through in the state of what he said in state of bliss. So that's very interesting. Okay. Now these are the main points I want to share. Just one or two other things I would like to share is that now our models are somewhat restrictive. For example, in Ayurveda it is said a disease process or pain, etc., is because of lack of prana. Now, unfortunately, we do not know, at least I certainly do not know how to measure prana. But we have a sister philosophy which is very practical in its outlook and its implementation, and that is acupuncture. So we can learn some lessons from acupuncture. Actually, the whole of medical diagnostics and therapy, if you learn from acupuncture, it'll do a whole lot of good for us. But we are too much into Western medical areas, which is failing the Western countries there itself, where it origin, it is failing there. And we are trying to somehow, push it on to our people. So anyway, acupuncture. Acupuncture doesn't talk about prana. It talks about a similar equivalent energy systems or called the ki or chi. Chi in Chinese, ki in Japanese. And they have acupuncture meridians. They say that meridians are like nadis, they're all over the body, and they take the chi energy and and gives it to cells of the body. The cells can maintain in their integrity and proper working conditions. They have enough, not too much or too little, but just sufficient chi. So their acupuncture goes on. I don't believe in acupressure because putting pressure doesn't do the same thing. Acupuncture, where you puncture the skin with a very minute needle and you take it in and swirl the, you see that if you do that, you see when you put the acupuncture point, it'll simply go inside. You don't have to push it in. Suddenly it'll be taken in by the body. And you have therapeutic procedures going through on this. It's fairly complex to talk about in a class like this. So, but they have also found out there are certain pathways they have determined. A guy in South Korea by name Bong Han looked at the anatomical and found out that anatomically you can specifically find out pathways through which this chi energy seems to be flowing. And similarly, we can think of that prana is flowing through, and there is no one-to-one equivalence, but there is similarity between the two. So we might get some ideas about how to trace these prana going through different parts of the body. And lastly, just a few sentences about Keelian photography. Now, this is another powerful method we've been using. I think Dr. Sanjeev has a system in his lab. Dr. Sanjay has in his lab. And it looks at subtle energy propagation in the body, how we can look at subtle energy expressed through availability of electrons, free electrons from different parts of the body. And they have a huge amount of data collected for various kinds of diseases, how they express the lack of or excess of electrons coming through would indicate the viability of the organ. Is it normal, abnormal, or subnormal? So it's a very powerful technique. We have worked with it. We have produced a lot of papers. Very interesting area to work with. And more importantly, now West has failed completely in understanding what life processes are. We have here a big role to play. What is consciousness? What is life processes? Because the reason why I'm saying is there are at least 1,000 cases. Yes, please listen. There are more than 1,000 cases reported from hospitals in the West when they have declared a person dead. He has come out of the hospital walking. I repeat, there are 1,000 cases of people having so-called near-death experience. They were given up for dead. They were declared dead by all their parameters they have measured. And after half an hour, the fellow gets up from the operating table and trying to move on. So this is clear indication of the fact that they have not defined death properly. Now, defining death is very important because it's a legal issue. You can't get up one fellow and suddenly say he is dead. So, but if you look at this electron availability, it is very clear in the cases that they have reported from Russia, where the machine, it's Keynote photography and its derivatives have been put together and tested and a lot of data collected from Russia. They have done on people who are dying. They found that electron availability goes down to almost zero. If you think that electrons are in the domain, the scientific domain is equivalent to prana. So lack of prana is death. Lack of electrons is death to a cell. So that is very powerful model. And we have to make sure that this is really the case, in which case you don't have to look at his CEG, his cardiac function, etc. Just look at his electron availability from organs, and you can say, okay, this person can be declared dead. Because as I said, this is a very critical area. So they cannot define death, And they can't define life also, because without consciousness, you cannot define life. So both ways, we have a lot of work to do, a lot of knowledge to share with. Not to say they are not good or something. We are still following Western method, and that is good. As my my colleague and my younger colleague and Chancellor Dr. Nagendra says, we take from the good of the best from the West and the best from the East, and try to get an amalgam which is better than both. It's our goal in life. And this so far, formally, I'll stop here. I want to make one request after that. If you have any questions, we'll take it. After which I'll make a final request before I close down. Do you have any questions, please? Okay. I know we're sitting far away from you, so it's not really like, eye contact lectures. So kindly go through what I've said, and if it makes sense, well and good. If it doesn't make sense, that's okay, no problem. And my request. Do you have a question? Yes, please.
Please repeat. Can you throw some light on Kapalbhati Shuddhi Kriya?
I didn't get the question.
Can you throw some light on Kapalbhati Shuddhi Kriya?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, a bit little with this. We can get some guidance from you.
Why do you? That's a big assumption. You are great.
Regarding the physiologic changes in our body.
Of Kriyas of Kapalabhati. I don't know why it is called Kapalabhati, first of all. Okay. There are a lot of things I do not know, the one of them. Don't worry about it. But it cleanses your respiratory system very well. And because the fast exchange, the body cannot follow this, right? When you exchange so fast, what you get out is almost what you get in. There's not excessive carbon dioxide coming through, because the carbon dioxide, it'll take a while for things to stabilize. You do it very, very slowly. Just inhale, exhale for a few seconds. Then the body has time to take out the carbon dioxide and give it to you, and you throw it out. And then you have enough time to breathe in. So this is not happening in any Kriya. You're doing so fast. Like, just one step away from this, there's one Polish guy who does Surya Namaskara. He wrote a book called Dynamic Surya Namaskara, which was released by us a couple of years ago. Polish guy from Poland. You know how he does it? He does 1008 Surya Namaskara every morning. He is 63 or 64-year-old. 1008, and then he takes 2 hours, 15 minutes. Very fast, dynamic. So I asked him, what are the advantages? I said, I'm looking good. Don't I look good? Yeah, you look very good. I wish I was a woman. No, it's okay. So there's no exchange of this carbon dioxide, but it simply cleanses the pathways. That's what I would know. But you should ask this question to somebody who is running these institutes, and they can tell you very clearly. No, I have enough time taking care of myself. I don't do. I stopped doing research. So I know I'm not answering your question. Sorry about it, because I do not know. I can't tell the entire story about it. But the airways are cleansed. That's what it is. Any other comments you have?
Sir, you asked us a question about, you asked me when the heart muscles would get their blood flow. Can you please explain or elaborate on that?
You're talking about heart blood flow?
Yes. You asked the question to the audience,
Okay.
eliciting the answer from us.
Okay. You want me to answer, right?
Yes.
Okay. No problem. Now, heart is a very strange organ. I don't know why heart, God gave us only one heart, He has given two at least. So, if one goes kaput, the other can go over. But anyway, see, when the heart pumps blood, it is pushing blood out from itself, right? And that is the high pressure, which we call it uh, systole. Systole. That's why when one say 120 by 80, the doctor writes that 120 is in the systole. Systolic pressure is 120 millimeters of mercury. When it relaxes, it has time to fill in. The heart has to fill with blood. Okay, the left ventricle does this. So this is what goes on like this. So when it relaxes completely, then the fresh blood comes in, and it is again pumping. Okay, so when the pump, the blood is coming out of the heart in a bolus, they call it. That is in batches, as it were. It's not continuous flow like when you open the tap in your bathroom. It comes in pulses. That's why when you look at the pulse for here for example, you see that pulse which is coming. It is not continuous flow. When it's continuous flow, you can't find out heart rate. Now, because it is pulsed, I know the heart rate. Each time it is closing, open, closing, open. Okay. So the body gets oxygenated blood. The cells get during systole. When the pulse comes out, the pulse goes all over the body. You can see even in various parts of the body, the pulse can be felt. But every cell in the body gets this pulsed oxygenated blood coming inside. Okay. So in systole, the oxygenated blood is going to the cells. However, because of the systole, this is the heart muscles, right? They are compressed. They don't get blood supply at that point. When they relax, then they get the blood supply. It is opposite to rest of the body. So the body, so in diastole, there is blood coming to the arteries of the body, arteries of the heart. So it is opposite to cells of the body. Cells of the body get when in systole. The heart gets its own blood, which is very important during diastole when it opens up. Also, when it opens up, it kind of, because there is no blood here now, the less blood in the arteries of the heart, it opens up, it kind of sucks up blood from aorta. So that's why it's called, the device is called counter pulsation devices or diastolic counter pulsation. During diastole, what you want to do is, when a person comes to the heart attack or less flow to the heart, first thing they can do is put pressure so that during diastole, more blood goes upwards towards the heart. I don't know if you can see me. Can you see me? Towards the heart. During diastole, put a pressure underneath the heart aorta and push down. And so more blood goes upwards to the heart and fills the cardiac arteries. So during diastole, you have to give blood to the. Now we don't have those choices while you're doing asana. You can't time all that. But in general, what will happen is when you do your Pavana Muktasana, actually the name Pavana Muktasana is very interesting. I'll come to it in a minute. When you do a Pavana Muktasana, you are pushing blood all the time during diastole, because you're taking a couple of 20 seconds, half a minute, whatever. So the blood goes back to the arteries of the heart, and they open up the heart, and the heart gets enough blood flow, or the pure blood. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I'll tell you what Pavana
Yes.
Muktasana.
Yes.
Okay. So kindly go see the best books you can buy about this is go and buy a cheap version, a good book on nurses physiology. Don't go to doctor's physiology because they're too complicated. That is for getting MBBS. So forget about it. Nurses physiology book, you get it. You have a nice information about these things. Okay.
Sir, I'm
Yes, sir.
Professor Nikam. I have one query.
Yes, yes.
As we know that newly born baby, he's having 100% genes active in it. And after the age of 17, 18, 50% of the genes become inactive. Is there any research on that because of Kapalbhati, pranayam, the genes become active? Is any kind of research has done in SVSA or in India that a genetic gene repair therapy can be achieved because of pranayam and Kapalbhati?
See, okay, there are several levels of answering your question. First of all, no, we have not done any work in SVSA about this. Number two, if it happens in young, in infants, newborn infants,
Yeah.
it is likely there is some kind of protective mechanism going on. We do not know. Do the child need all the genes or some genes only for a short time? So these questions I do not know answer to. Maybe because nature is doing something. It is not to destroy nature, but it may not be required. So it may not you eat, some of it comes out. It has to come out because it's not useful for the body. So similarly, it may do that. Thirdly, the genetic story is only so much. As you know now, epigenetics has come in a big way. That is, a nature and nurture. Nature is what provides one with genetic information, my parents, grandfather, whatever it is. And the nurture, that is the environment in which I'm growing, should be rich enough. This is where the problem comes. Should be rich enough so my neurons can grow, my brain can grow, interact with the environment. So when a child is doing something, do not disturb, let him do it. Don't pick up the child, even if he or she cries. Yeah, exception, I'm coming back. Okay. Some children you pick up. Anyway, so they have to crawl, they have to creep, they have to go through stages of falling down, they have to get up, they have to walk. So all this is part of genetic and genetic traits coming through, as well as the environmental coming through. So that is very important. Now, if you don't mind taking a little bit more time, neither genetics nor epigenetics describe a person fully. Why? This is because epigenetics come in a big way in the West now. People are writing books about it, workshop about it, you talk about it, they do it. But I'm telling them this is not sufficient to describe a person. Why? What is the problem? The problem is you look around your own environment. My brother, my elder brother and myself, we have grown together. Same love from parents, same school we attended, same his classmates and my classmates, all we know each other. Same house we go to, same food we take, same sleeping. He is very different. Now, this cannot be explained by either by genetics or epigenetics. So they are limited. See, the West is still searching for answers. They don't have answers. They're searching. They are search mode for the last 250 years. It's like India in a building mode. Wherever you go, there is work in progress. Similarly, they are doing it, work in progress for them. Science is work in progress for them. Anyway, I've written about this also, that you have to go what I call pre-genetics. Unless you bring in ideas of pre-genetics, you cannot describe a person completely. What is pre-genetics? Vasanas. Unless vasanas are brought in, we do not know what it is, how to describe it, how to put it down in equation or measure it. But I know you can take, for example, myself, my brother, and the difference is between the vasanas. His vasanas are different from my vasanas. Of course, yes, because we come from, I don't know where we came from. Different source, I mean, different experience, certainly, yes. So your question, I can't directly answer, but genetics is important. Epigenetics is coming in a big way, also important. Still, like life and death, they're not complete picture. That's why I'm saying we have to push our ideas because our ideas is complete. Our forefathers have given us. It is not my idea. The idea from a long time ago that vasanas come into play. And you know what Sri Krishna said very, very enthusiastically, very nicely he puts in, Guna Guneshu Vartante iti Matvana Sajjate. Guna Guneshu Vartanta. Basically, he says, Arjuna, you are so stupid. You are a warrior. You can't be anything else. You have to fight. And this is Dharma Yuddha. You fight. What is the problem? You're simply making it a huge, theatrical and starting to cry and putting down your Gandhiba and things. I want my teachers are there, my elders are there. I want all the nonsense. So Guna will always be in Gunas, and that is the challenge. Gunathita, to get to be Gunathita is the challenge. I have seen in my life 99% of people around me whom I know over years, tens of years, they have not changed one bit. So hats off to Sri Krishna. We'll have your birthday well celebrated at home. Thank you. Can I conclude by 5 minutes of one request for all of you? Let me.
Yes, sir.
My request, because this morning very difficult. I'll send a message. No, the difficulty is because I'll send a message. I want everyone to pray for our women, children. India must be safest place. Bharat, this Punya Bhumi must be the best place for everyone, the women especially, and the children, and the handicapped. It's not only we can help. We will do what we can, but you can help. Let's pray in our hearts for the brave lady who went through so much. She is my sister. She is my daughter. She is my mother. Nobody should go through this. Not one person in this continent or anywhere in the world. Thank you for this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry about it. My request also is this is an occasion where you can make a pledge. Please, your big people in society, write a letter to Prime Minister. He will listen to us. That all of us, everybody who is doing yoga, will spend 5 minutes a day, 6 o'clock to 6:05 in the morning, and pray for the children, the men, the women, the handicapped, everybody will be safe in this country. We take a pledge. Tomorrow I'm going to talk to some yoga people. We'll take a pledge. You don't have to tell anybody. You do it. And also, the people who are making this possible, write to Prime Minister. Yoga day is not important. Yoga attitude is important. It is not on yoga day, your yoga attitude. Every single day, we have to keep in our mind our people so that they will have a free and wonderful life like we all want to have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I stand here for the vote of thanks of this session. Thank you very much for giving us an elaborate information on physiology due to yoga research. And I would like to thank you for sharing your valuable experiences about yoga and research in yoga also with all of us. Once again, thank you.
Thank you. Close.